Now that we're done softening up the line with the 1 guard, we can move on to me debulking the sides here is gonna make it easier for me to blend in so it's less overhang. I'm pretty much creating and preparing the silhouette before I start to cut into the taper. Now that we have a consistent base, we can move on to our Gold FX and create our first guideline. We are making a high tempo taper, so we want to make sure we cut near the temple. Now that we're done creating our first guideline, we can move on to our no guard all the way open and create our second guideline. We're then going to slightly close the lever midway and all the way closed and attack that initial guideline. Moving on to our clipper over comb method, before we use our 1 guard all the way open, we're going to go ahead and debulk and shape it up a little bit. Now we're moving on to our 1 guard all the way open and we're creating our third guideline. This guideline is going to help us connect with our 1.5 guard and our half guard. Now that we're done softening up the line with the 1 guard, we can move on to our half guard and erase the line completely. Make sure to use your corners and its lever. Also, don't be afraid to stretch the skin with your opposite hand. It is necessary to stretch the skin when fading, especially when you need to spread the blend. Now that we're done with the lower guards, we're moving on to our 2 guard all the way open and we're creating our fourth guideline. We are making sure I'm flicking out as much as possible, and also this is going to prepare us for our 1.5 guard. Before erasing the line completely with my 1.5 guard, I'm going to use my clipper over comb to begin to debulk and also make the fade as smooth as possible into the top. Clipper over comb is the most technical and critical technique with learning how to do these type of haircuts. Without clipper over comb, for the most part, you won't be able to create the shape you want to create. Moving on to the back line, we're going to go ahead and take our Gold FX and start off at the bottom, working our way to the top arch. Just like when you're lining up the hairline, you want to make sure you go slow as possible, making sure that the hair feeds into the teeth and trimmer. Moving on to the sideburn, we're going to go ahead and start off with our no guard all the way open, creating our first guideline. We're then going to use our 1 guard all the way open and our half guard to begin to blend in the sideburn. I hope you guys are enjoying the video. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe is greatly appreciated. Also, if you guys want to support the channel, go ahead and leave a super thanks down below or follow the Instagram. Moving on to the bottom of the beard, we're going to go ahead and use our Gold FX to make it as crispy as possible. I always ask my clients if they want to take down their mustache, and if they do, I always take it down to a 1 guard all the way open. I feel like that's a very perfect length where it's enough darkness, but it's short enough that it's not long enough that it bothers them. Now that we're done with the facial hair, we're going to go ahead and pin up the hair and begin to line up his hairline. But before we line him up, we're going to go ahead and debulk with the 1.5 guard all the way open, which is equivalent to a 2 guard closed. Now that we're done debulking the hairline going with the grain, we could go ahead and move on to our gold FX and start off in the middle, working our way to the sides. Again, you want to make sure you go slow enough that the hair feeds into the teeth of the trimmer, because if not, then the hair is going to shift and then you won't line them up properly. Now we're going to go ahead and connect this side to the right side. You want to keep the corners and vertical bars as natural as possible. You want to make sure you don't go too deep in and also cut them too short. Now we're going to use our clipper over comb to make it as smooth as possible and debolt. Now that we're done blending this side of the taper, we can move on to our gold FX and make them as crispy as possible. I always start off at the bottom and work my way to the top arch using the corners of the blade. You also always want to make sure you go slow enough that the hair feeds into the teeth of the trimmer, because if not, then the hair is going to shift and then you won't line them up properly. Now that we're done with the back taper and lining up the sides, we can move on to our gold FX and create our first guideline on the side taper. Now that we're done butting him out and shaving off his sideburns, we can move on to our no guard all the way open and create our second guideline. We're also making sure that we use the corners of the blade, since it is a small area to fade. Now that we're done erasing our initial guideline, we can move on to our one guard all the way open and create our third guideline. Remember to use the lever to soften up this line and get ready for the half guard. Now we're using our 2 guard all the way open, and we're going to create our fourth guideline right on top of the 1 guard all the way open. Now that we're done creating our fourth guideline, we're then going to use a 1.5 guard to erase it completely. Now we're using our 3 guard all the way open to create our 5th guideline, and we're flicking out as much as possible into the bulk that he already has. Now I'm using my previous guards to detail as much as possible, especially between the half guard and the 1 guard. Now that we're done with our taper, we can move on to our C-cups and use our gold FX to make them as crispy as possible. Again, I always start off at the bottom and work my way to the top arch using the corners of the blade. I also like to go slower to make sure that the hair feeds into the teeth of the trimmer, because if not, then the hair's gonna shift and then you won't line them up properly.